Hi, I'm Elizabeth, and this is Thursday Thoughts. I'm here with not one, but two special guests. I've got Mabu, Georgia, and we have Lucky Phillips from Emotional Horsemanship. So he's here. We did our first day of the clinic. You're here for 3 days, and then a fourth for some private lessons. So that's very cool. I actually wanted to ask you more about something we saw before our trail ride and during the trail ride on Wednesday.
Not that I would know. I was in the back. I didn't hear anything.
No, but you saw all of this. So, Thursday Thoughts is a place where I just kind of, sometimes it's just a stream of consciousness. But what I was thinking about today, particularly afterwards, how you had mentioned that, folks want, instant fix, instant gratification, instant relationship, right? And we acknowledge that that's not, it's a process for sure. But when you were working with Chrome, who was your partner for the trail ride, I'm super curious about what your approach is to horses that you are just meeting. How can you create a meaningful relationship with a horse in a short amount of time? I have my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours, and I think that's a good starting point for a conversation.
Yeah, so before our trail ride, I took my time to groom him and sort of get a feel for him. And from the moment I was haltering him, I was already paying attention to how he was responding to me in his environment, and then grooming, and then I trimmed a little, and then groomed a little more.
You trimmed his feet?
Yeah, I rasped.
You just rasped?
I rasped his
no
toes
kidding.
back. And then, but I'm not just doing the thing, I'm always checking in with the horse, right? So I'm always watching.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that in a short period of time, just pay attention.
Yeah. Just
do what you're doing, but pay attention and be present with what you're doing. But then prior to the trail ride, I had time because things were happening on the yard. So I took him to the arena, and I took him in 10 minutes or less through several of my techniques, and he touched base with all of the techniques, and I was even able to repeat them a couple of times, and I felt a softening. I thought, okay, that's good for a first introduction. And then you load a horse you don't know, and then you unload him in a new place that he hasn't been, and then you go out somewhere that you haven't been.
Yeah.
And so, even though I didn't know this horse very well, by the end of that day, I felt like I knew something about him. And if I wasn't teaching yesterday, I would have loved to have, picked him up and taken him to the arena and had a session tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just pay attention. I use exactly the same tools, whether it's a 20-year partnership or a 20-minute partnership. For me, it's the same tools, but at the same time, adjusting my expectations about what I'm going to get from a horse. So prior to the trail ride, he was on the edge. He was pouring like this, and he was very high-headed, and I could feel that if I put my legs on, he would have gone. So I didn't have my legs on. I rode with my legs off. And I knew that it was like that because he didn't know me.
Yeah.
And if he knew me, it would have been different.
Yeah.
So it's always this judgment call of how far do you take it, when do you stop? And so that's why I wanted to walk him back. And I did.
Yeah. It's so funny because in my early horsemanship years, I was very much of the belief that if I just spent, a shit ton of time with the horse, right? Like all of this undemanding time, just it started in my brain. It became kind of impractical, the amount of time that I was told and expected to spend with a horse. It was this quantity idea over quality. And so it was a real treat watching you from a distance, just, and it's the quality that you were bringing to it was really if I can, parse your words, it's just, you were just listening and talking to him. You were just...
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept of patient training doesn't mean that you just need to quit your day job and now spend 6 hours a day with the horse.
Right.
That's not patient training. Patient training can be 10-minute sessions twice a week.
Right.
But if you've got the tools and the process and you're technical and you're disciplined, you can still get results over time. It's a different kind of turnaround. It's just, for me,
It feels more meaningful than just sitting and reading a book in a pasture with a horse.
That's not training.
Yeah.
Training's still got to be training. If it's training, it needs to be training. And so that doesn't mean training has to look the way we think it should look. It can be patient training, but you can still be proceeding with things in the training.
Right.
Like the 10-minute session that I had with Chrome, it was patient. I wasn't trying to get a result, but the results were there because I was technical about it, so I knew what I was doing, at least with the tools that I have. And he didn't know those tools, so I was able to transcribe those tools for him in a short period of time because they're my tools that I'm familiar with. If I was using someone else's tools, there'd be a learning journey to understand the tools before I could succeed with them. But just investing exorbitant amounts of time into your horse isn't patient training, because that's when it gets ineffective. But you can be equally ineffective spending a lot of time trying to hustle a horse.
Yeah.
Because you keep creating problems that you're having to solve in the training. So I'm interested in not rushing because I don't have time to rush horses. If I'm rushing horses, I create problems for myself later. I have to cycle back and repair. I'm just interested in being able to lay it brick by brick in a consolidated fashion so that in the future I don't have to go back and repair so much. And even with that, even with that having been said, in the best case scenario, you will still have to go back and revisit things and repair. It'll happen anyway, but I just want that to happen less. That's my perspective, and I'm not trying to sell anyone on doing it that way, because there's all sorts of horse people and there's all sorts of needs in the equestrian sphere. This is just my bag, what I'm doing for the reasons I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But in hearing you say training is training, I think there's something important to specify, which would be, I think you're leading that big time, and we're all trying to redefine what that really means, because it's very easy to hear the word training and think of getting the horse to do some behavior.
So when I use the word training, there's an unspoken reality that I never address, because for me that's an unspoken reality. It's an obvious and a given. It's a presumption that I'm already living with.
Yeah.
And that is, training can be anything you want it to be.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not trying to run anyone else's race.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in
Yeah.
running your race or your race. Or I'm in my car with my hands on my wheel doing my thing. So training is what it means to me.
Yeah.
And training is what it means to you. I understand that word for a lot of people
Yeah.
is an activated word that's a very specific thing, but for me it's not that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop me from using
Can
the
you
word.
define it? Like, if you could define training, how
Education of the horse.
There you go. Okay. Right. I had the word influence of the horse in my mind, so it's interesting. Yeah.
And we've, I think you've started to formulate it this way, and I've liked it for so long, where it's sure influencing or training, but under 4 different points of view, which would be physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, in a way. And all of that counts.
Yeah,
All
I
of
think
that
those are kind of our umbrellas
Yeah.
behind training.
Yeah.
Those are the
And
4 focuses we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it feels, watching you train, it feels like it's a
4-dimensional.
whole. Exactly. It's whole that
Physical,
way.
mental,
Yeah.
emotional,
Exactly.
spiritual. 4-dimensional
Yeah.
approach. So that's another given for me, that when I use the word training, it's always a 4-dimensional training for me. And listen, I make mistakes every day. Every day in my training with my horses, I make mistakes. I'm an imperfect trainer doing my best. truly, I've made mistakes with my horses recently, you know. So I don't want to sit here as some sort of
No, but what
shama someone, you know. No, it's not like that. But like 4-dimensional training is where the industry is going.
Yeah.
And I think you can be spiritual and physical and emotional and cognitive all at the same time. And in fact, I think it's helpful to be that way if you can.
Well, and I think that people are so afraid of making mistakes, but when do I need to repeat anything?
No, it was just a
Wait,
10%
bad.
battery. We're
Okay,
good. Keep
good.
going. Yeah.
People are so afraid of making mistakes, but what I love about what you do, and what I love about what we do too, is it's so relational with the horse. And when I think of it, I replace horse with partner. With my partner, I make mistakes all the time. I leave so many dishes in places I'm not supposed to. I say the wrong thing sometimes. Sometimes my words come out a little bit too edgy. But because I am looking at that relationship from so many layers of fulfillment, right? It's like, how am I nurturing, his and my physical, spiritual, emotional, all of that. Yeah, just bringing it back to these guys are our friends and our companions, and treating them.
I think the desire to not make mistakes is very well intentioned, and I think it's a good signpost that this person is wanting to act appropriately around their horse. So that's very, very good. But I think it's just tipped scales into neurotic land when you're afraid of making mistakes. If we're afraid of mistakes, we're now in the land of not taking action because we don't have a good relationship to our fear. But we should be afraid of mistakes in the sense that we should be listening to the variability there, and we should be listening to the hazards. We should be taking this into account in real time. We should be as aware as we can.
Should be mindful to try and do our best, right?
But the whole concept that learning can be mistake-free, I think only breeds neurotic relationships to our horses. I mean, at least I've not met a horse person who postulates mistake-free training who isn't just, in my opinion, just a little tad neurotic, in the sense like I don't feel at ease in their presence because it doesn't feel like I've got permission to be human in their presence.
It's just it's just not physiologically. I don't even think it would be a complete learning, because it's just even naturally our nervous system will reward feel good successes or micro successes, but it will also not reward and push us to dig deeper icky feelings and situations that we will label as mistakes. And both are important for learning, and I think if we're missing one or the other, then learning is just incomplete.
And I think good training is the pursuit of a perfection that doesn't exist. So we're looking for mistake reductive training. Harm reductive training, I think, is very, very good. I think that's a better place to occupy, is harm reduction rather than mistake free. But when mistakes happen, par for the course. What did we learn? How do we go forwards from here? Par for the course. What did we learn? And I think that's it gives a little bit more freedom and a little bit more. It just takes the edge off something that's already pretty edgy to undertake.
Yeah, I mean, all we have is improvement. Perfection really is a utopia, and define perfection in any situation.
I mean, it's possible to practice a thing enough times that it gets pretty good. And that pretty much every time it's like bullseye. If you've practiced it enough, you get to a point that in majority of circumstances you can just go boop, right on point. So really good riders, really good trainers develop the tact, the feel, and the technique to be able to just place it most of the time right where it needs to be most of the time.
Making that 3-point shot without blinking.
Right, that's skill level.
Right.
So let's pursue skill rather than mistake free. Let's pursue harm reduction rather than mistake free. You know?
That's great. I think that's a really great place to wrap it up because my phone might die soon.
Especially.
Thanks so much for joining Thursday Thoughts.
Of course.
Yay.
Are you
We
joking?
love having you here.
It's fun. Thanks for having me.
We're
I don't think I
gonna-
looked in the camera one time. Hello. Look at you.
Everybody,
Yeah.
Lucky Phillips.
Again, try one more time.
Okay, I guess namaste for now.
Namaste.
You have to say namaste today
Yeah.
because you're in Hatha Aquas land.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Nah. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you would stay in Colorado, I'd be very happy. I'm gonna find a way to
No,
miss your flight.
No, it's not
Oops,
gonna happen.
did I say that out loud?
Maybe he lost his passport. What do you know?
I forgot to take you to the airport.
My alarm didn't go
Because
off.
we were at Whole Foods. This is good commercial,
Whole
good
Whole
advertising.
Foods might be a reason to stay.
I'm telling
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I'm telling you.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no other Whole Foods in the country.
Nope, sorry.
Except for Longmont,
Just
Colorado,
in Longmont.
in the world.
It's
All right.
not a chain.
It's
Okay.
that time.
Bye.
Bye.